Hi everyone, it's Rachel from Be Wholesome, and today we're so excited to be interviewing one of my favorite doTERRA sisters, PJ. And we're going to be, she's going to be telling us all about her journey with her diabetes and how she has made a full comeback from that diagnosis. And we're really, really proud of her and the commitment she has made to her own health and well-being, and really excited to learn from her experience as she uses what she's gone through as an amazing tool to inspire and empower others to make some positive changes in their own health. Okay, and now I'm going to, because I've wrecked it, bring us up together.
Mhm.
Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our conversation today with one of my favorite doTERRA sisters, the beautiful PJ from Sycamore Wellbeing. And for those of you wondering what that means, it is the tree of healing. And PJ's journey has been something that has inspired me over the last little while, but more so because I have seen the progress with my very own eyes. And what I mean by that is, yes, online, but we also went on a co-impact sourcing trip together.
You
And
did.
I watched firsthand the commitment of both PJ and Yura in the choices they were making, the decisions they were making in the moment to prioritize their health. And I really was impressed with that. And I would like to welcome you, PJ, to this chat today. And
Thank
I've got a few questions, and this might go any which way. But yeah, welcome to the call, and thank you for the time that you're giving us today to help us understand how we can best manage our metabolism and what that looks like for people.
you.
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
it's a
yeah.
huge issue for most people around the world. The stats are horrific. It's the real pandemic, if you want to call it that, and it's basically where our metabolic systems are under incredible stress, placed there through both ignorance and noise
Mm,
that guides us to programming our brains to making those decisions that aren't a great idea and therefore have a compounding effect, especially as we age. And what I mean by that is, well, literally past 25, but particularly over 50, things start to fall away. There is a sense of urgency around this. And so if we can get it in front
mm.
of trend, we can certainly help people that way.
Oh, I love that. I love it. And you have been doing just that. And I'm so grateful. We've had like quite a few questions coming in, and that's why I was like, I know the perfect person to get on and talk about this. So let's start with your personal transformation journey. And what was the turning point for you in deciding to take control of your health and your metabolism in the first place?
2 points. The first one was a lack of agility, and I was suffering in silence, and I know that I was dying. I had incredible pain. What I say to people is I normalized unwell. So it does creep up on you. It's like, oh, I'm not moving readily out of bed. I'm finding it slow when I'm walking around the theme park with family and friends. Not even so much as getting out of breath. That's not necessarily an indication of anything going wrong, but just being able to function, becoming very isolated, cutting myself off from community. Actually, that was something I did big, becoming hyper self-conscious about how I looked. And I didn't seem to be able to have any control with it. Not being able to keep up with my husband with his whatever he wanted to do, which has a lot to do with little red cars, or did, and getting into the car, getting out of the car, literally going around corners. I was in level 9 out of 10 pain, living, just living, just breathing, and I was like, this is not good. there was a moment just here. I was walking sort of near the kitchen, and I would just, how you misplace your phone all around the home. I mean, I know everybody does that, but there was almost like this pathological sense of disorientation. I had moments there where I could feel my brain was not functioning. Now, I knew a little bit about what some of our products did, but I was too busy out in the world and slaying dragons and doing all the things to care. But what I had done was I'd managed to totally burn myself out by over delivery, then wasn't sleeping, then I knew something was wrong. So
Mm.
went to the doctor reluctantly and had the blood test, and I was an A1C, so that's your resting glucose, of 18.
Wow.
That's monster. You're supposed to be 6 or below. And I can comfortably say that after 4 months, I had a dramatic change. But 18 months on, my resting A1C is 5.2.
Yay! 5 2. Ah,
So that's a
wow.
75% reduction in my resting blood glucose results.
Wow, that is amazing. And that, if for those of you watching or rewatching this chat, is if that's not reason enough to hang around and listen to how that was brought to life. And there was no magic pill. It was literally lifestyle, and incredible supplements and decisions that PJ has made along the way. So you've touched on some of those challenges around your daily life, and I guess the red flags, so to speak, that were your indication that this might have gone too far for you. And it sparked, I guess, that your eagerness to go and your power and your strength to say, well, hang on, like I'm going to step in, I'm going to change this instead of falling back to, wow, this is just how it's going to be. What went through your mind there? Like, what was that?
Well, if I'm 100% honest and full disclosure, I was horrified. I didn't know anything about A1C, didn't know anything about diabetes, seemed to have a pretty good metabolism all my life. So why would it be bad now? And I can answer that, but not easily. There's a long list of why it's bad, why it was bad. And I was doing all the right things. So I hear this a lot. I'm okay. I'm normalizing unwell. And I do all the right things, and it doesn't seem to matter. Yes, you're doing all the right things in ignorance that leads to a diagnosis of diabetes, cancer, heart, or Alzheimer's. That is the destination, guys. There is no second chances. You don't reverse without intention. So the moment when I found out, I had a moment in the pool, I was crying, going, this is embarrassing. I'm a big leader in doTERRA. God, what are you doing to me? Why are you dragging me over the coals? What did I do wrong? Those moments. I had a couple of days, and then it was very scary because I realized I could die or have a limb amputated or go
Mm.
blind. And as it was, my eyesight was sort of not great, even though I have glasses, it was played up. And it was like, wow, I really have all the signs, but I didn't want to acknowledge that. And
Mm.
then after a couple of days, I'm extremely spiritual. My faith is really important to me. And I had a word with God, and I heard, I am putting you through this so that you can help thousands. And I thought, oh, okay. The last time he
No
said this,
pressure.
I built a blue diamond. So he was using me as a live crash test dummy for you all to laugh at. No, no, no. It really was.
Yeah.
There's no point. This is the one aspect that neither you or I really wanted to even look at or acknowledge. And I
Mm.
don't think we're unusual in that respect. And so it
Mm.
was a matter of making the decision to forge through or stay
Mm.
in ignorance and die. There's, it sounds
That's
dramatic, but
exactly
that's it.
right. But it's not actually that dramatic. And I think that the beautiful thing is when at any point in our own life, that level of accountability is where the change really happens. But it's also lifelong change. For myself, even just with essential oils way back when, like 11 years ago, I had that moment with peppermint oil and I found my power that day and I've never looked back. But when you're talking about, like you said, the very confronting side of where you were at, as in going blind, losing a limb, that is real. That's not the fluffy stuff. And that was the pathway you were on. So there's lots of people around that it's terrifying to understand that if they change nothing, that's the trajectory of their life. And this is why I'm so grateful that you have walked the walk, and it's not been all easy. It's taken a lot of commitment and a lot of self-awareness. But what you've done is you've shown what's possible. Those numbers alone, going from over 18 down to 5.2, like that alone is a testimony to your strength and perseverance during this time. So, in terms of the measurable results that you're seeing, we've spoken about that number, but what specific changes for someone watching at home and they're at ground zero, like they've just either had that talk with the doctor or they haven't yet, but they know those same signs are showing up for them? Where do they begin? Where do they start? And what
Mm.
can that look like?
Well, I would suggest that you have a moment and acknowledge, okay, I don't know what I don't know. I'm at it's a humbling moment. It's a, okay, I have to do something and I don't actually know what I'm meant to be doing. And how do you find out what you don't know? So that that moment was that ground zero where you have to humble yourself. And it's hard because we're all proud about the way that we live and what we do, or, right hand doesn't really know what the left hand is doing, so it doesn't matter. Actually, it does. And being willing, choosing in on accountability, and not necessarily having an accountability partner, though you can do that, more or less being accountable for what you're doing on a daily basis and admitting that you don't know and putting one foot in front of the other and being willing. I'm a lifelong learner, so there's that. And I have a natural level of curiosity, so there's that. And I had the time. I actually did have the time. So there was no reason not to reprioritize. And if I
Mm.
wasn't reprioritizing, what was I hiding behind? So I had to look at all that as well.
Mm. Yeah. So a lot of changes occurring spiritually and in the direction of physically changing your daily routine and things like that. And I think that for people that are watching this, they're either already in the world of doTERRA or they're potentially looking at or being invited as this being the first step on
Yeah.
that journey to actually supplementing and rebooting a system so the system is working for you. So in terms of, I know nutrition played a huge role in the amazing achievements that you've had. So I guess, what came first, the chicken or the egg for someone that's just going, okay, I want to make foundational changes. I want them to be around doTERRA and the culture of those products because I trust that company and I trust the products. Where do they begin and what could that plan look like for them?
Yeah. So if you're already in doTERRA, the great news is, even if you can identify with some of those symptoms or the one that you love is going through that, often we can see it in our partners, but we're not really sure what to do. The great news is you have everything in your cart that you need. Uh, Not everyone can say that,
Yeah.
you have everything at your disposal. And I intuitively did know that. And I was like, this was the thing that I had the biggest trouble with. How come? And I even had people say this on my wall, which was a little bit unkind, but sometimes the truth hurts. And it's like, how can you call yourself a big name leader and you have all this going wrong? Well, first of all, there isn't a great deal of empathy for this suffering that you put yourself through. Second of all, good question. I don't really know. And then thirdly, taking responsibility for what I didn't know. So what does that look like? Exactly as I said before, it's literally being willing to start again, learn. What is it that you don't know? And what came out the other end of this 14 months? Not everybody has that time. I get it, but it came a little bit of an obsession. Was
Mm.
14 months of understanding what have we got What don't I know, and where is the gap? And how much of this can I contribute to, and how much of this is outside of my control? So I really just looked at things that were within my control and not worry about stuff that was outside of my control. How old I was, 57, or at the time I was 55. Um, um, where I live, the circumstances, grief. So
Mm,
grief compounds cortisol,
mm,
and that's the biggest contributor to. It's not necessarily the sugar you eat, but it is. But it's also what your body does with it, which is creating cortisol, creates the biggest problem. And is there a way to bring that back? Well, technically there is, but I don't really know. Maybe I just start there. And that began a passion for integrated wellness.
mm. Yeah. And that passion, like you said, happened in those integral moments each day. So when that decision was made and you realized that you had the toolkit available to you in your doTERRA catalog or in your doTERRA account, what products became non-negotiables on that journey, and how did you apply them into your daily routine, but also what changes did you notice first?
All right. So I knew that I had supplementation that was designed for this, but I had no idea how to apply it. And I even
Mm.
said to the doctor, I'm not taking your stuff. So just take a note of that. I'm going to do this naturally. She kind of rolled her eyes and obviously, resistant, blah, blah, whatever
Cannot
they
be
do. What was it? You cannot be a sideline this one, black mark forever. But I was like, no, I know I have the products. I just
Yeah.
don't know how to use them. And I didn't have the knowledge of how to apply the products to what I was doing. So
Mm,
externally, you would look at you and I and our routine and you would go, well, that's what you've been doing the whole time. Kinda and kinda not. What we did was we moved forward with great tension. That's what we observed on the trip. Moved
mm,
forward with great intention. And we didn't, once I understood how it worked, I applied it, asked him if he wanted to join in because it's just a whole lot
mm,
easier for both doing the same thing. He could see the changes in me. He could see mental functioning coming back. He could see my joy returning. And he was like, yeah, whatever you've got, I'll have that too. And together we move forward in sync. So I will say at the outset, if you have other people living at home, it's a really good idea to get on the same page if you can. One is going to say, I don't want blood tests and all that, fine, but you need to know where you're starting at. So the non-negotiables was understanding that we have daily habits. The daily habits are the things because we're creatures of habit. So we only, if you read the book um, right here, Atomic Habits, if we
mm,
want change and we want to affect big change, you don't do it by making a massive change because your subconscious will sabotage that the minute a crisis comes or you fall off the routine or the bandwagon, you don't know where you're at.
mm,
So look at your habits, your daily habits, and you set those with intention. And around that, you create new opportunities for education. Why do I take the Metapower?
mm,
Why is the assist the answer to metformin when people want to get off metformin? Because it is, guys. Uh,
mm,
why would I be taking lifelong vitality, or in our case, we moved to the new VMG plus? What is the benefit of the E Omega? And why are we taking those? And so gradually and slowly started to pare back. Why are we taking things? Is it necessary? Do we edit what we're doing? And if we
mm,
edit what we're doing, how do we do that? Now, one of the things you will have heard this before, right? You've been in as long as me. What does the founders always say? What does Dr. Oglethorpe and Dr. Riggs, what do they all say? Get your nutrition right first and then the oils become the staple. So they've never said the oils will wash away every tear. Like they have never said that. They've always said get nutrition right first. And that's that foundational wellness baseline.
mhm,
Well, it took me 10 years. Kind of am a little bit of a slow learner. But what I started to see was when I made the right nutritional choices, I could actually feel the effect of the supplements. Who
Mm.
knew? And then that this is what
Yeah.
they meant. It was like an aha moment. It was incredible. And I was like, okay, I feel completely differently. And I noticed that this is making a huge difference. The Metapower Advantage, for example. So we take, in our
Mm.
case, you can have lifelong vitality or the E Omega, or beg your pardon,
Mhm.
the MG is fine, whichever way you want to go. But essentially, we're looking at the vitamins and supplements as the base
Yeah.
for your nutritional efforts.
Mm.
But if you're eating ultra processed food, if you're eating processed food, if you're eating foods that have been sprayed with all manner of different types of scientific support mechanisms that are only seeping through soils and coming into your mitochondria to destroy it permanently, then whatever you do is not going to matter. So we then looked at, okay, I think I need to learn how to eat again. I had a form of anorexia, and
Mm.
that is pretty hard to believe. But people who are obese have an issue where they have, it's actually a thing called internal starvation. So we had become afraid of food, and then we were over complicating our food intake and thinking we were doing the right thing by running around having 3 meals a day and snacks, because that's how you boost your blood sugar, right? That's how you kill yourself.
Mm.
So all of that had to change. The
Mm.
types of food we ate. In the beginning, I was very gentle, and
Mm.
I made sure that I don't know why that just did that then.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't need to lower my head. Um, I did what I could to make sure that I got really intentional about the kind of food we ate. So I started to unlearn
Mm.
what I thought was nutrition and decided to learn from some brilliant minds who were out there, funnily enough, teaching
Mm.
us all that we've got it all wrong in the nutritional space. And there's been quite a few doctors and different um, experts that I love to read and recommend. And that helped me reinform my knowledge. It helped me re-educate myself.
Yeah. And so in doing that, would you so the unconscious eating, so when people were waking up in the morning and following the old food pyramid and you got your 3 meals and you can snack in between each. So it's it's that's part of the first part of acknowledging, okay, well, potentially that's been wrong. And it's something that I can change first. So shifting that seems insignificant, but it's one piece of the puzzle. And when you started to do that, and I know how conscious an effort that was. I know you went into the good fats food and all of those things because I got to enjoy the good snacks when we were together. But what are some of the simple things that someone can shift from buying or focusing on as a snack into something healthier for them? Like these people, what it feels like to be at rock bottom, and they're like, I want to change. So where do I begin in terms of just snacking? I know for myself, the Metapower Advantage has created a huge difference in my wanting to snack. It's like it's turned off the need to have little sugar hits here and there. But when you're looking at, okay, if they start a food diary, what can they eliminate and what can they replace it with? Just give a couple of examples.
So there's a bit of mindset in behind this as well, because that's the first thing people ask me is, what can I have? And what do I
Mm.
have to eliminate? And I know that I'm going to see you in 10 days and you're going to say, well, I might have just had a little bit of that. And well, I let myself have this, but it was only because it was Sunday. And then, yeah, well, we did have Saturday. I forgot all about Saturday. And before you know it, the time Monday comes around, you're in deep sabotage.
Mm.
Uh, you have to understand that you have a monster inside you that wants its own way. And it will tell you anything it can to bring you around to its way of thinking. It's like this obsessed child that just wants yes and will do whatever it can to get its way, and will justify it nonstop. You have to put that to rest. How do you do that? Well, first up is your food choices. So the food choices need to be in line with, just for full disclosure, we are big on keto.
Mm,
Keto works. It's a healing modality over carnivore,
mhm,
paleo, keto, roughly the same, and being really disciplined about that. So what does that look like? Well, there are three, instead of looking at all the different food groups, just put yourself out of your misery. There are three food groups: fats, proteins, carbs. That's
mhm,
it. Out of the three, your body makes two of them. Fats, its own, sorry. I don't know why that's on. I have to turn that off. It comes from this. Fats, number one, you have to prioritize number of fats. Now, the older you are, the more struggle you'll have. And actually, it was between the 70s and the 90s where the huge low fat brigade came in. You may not remember, maybe you do, but your mum would have been all over the low fat, no fat, low fat, no fat cycle. Okay. And yet that same woman would probably be in her 60s and 70s fighting all kinds of metabolic disaster, because that's what those chemicals do. So,
mm,
three different food groups, that's all you have to worry about: high fats, high protein, low carb. Oh, yes, but I'm different. I understand that you're different, and your body will adapt to those food groups. And when we put it that simply, it changes everything. Now, I'm not going to say that your brain will change from that. You can have all kinds of resistance, but you prioritize fats, good fats. So let's make it really simple. It's avocado,
mm,
uh, nuts, particularly walnuts and macadamias. It's um, butter, tallow, ghee. That's pretty much it. If you're
mm,
using any other form of fat, you can make your own butter to make sure that it's super pure. You have to become a label Nazi. So you have to absolutely annihilate every label that comes into your vicinity, and you look at it and you check, because knowledge is power.
mm,
So high fats, high proteins, low carbs. You need to, if you do this, you won't have this issue that I had, which was internal starvation. There's a
mm,
little switch that's flicked, and your body starts to relax and doesn't nudge you towards the butler pantry. It actually doesn't need to justify itself, particularly that it's been supported that morning with all of the vitamins. So we prioritized our vitamins and our minerals. That was a non-negotiable. And then our collagen and our tripeptides, making sure that that was into us every day. And then from there, we built our nutrition: eggs, nuts, um, yogurt, all of
mm,
the natural food that God made. God made these foods. He wants us to thrive. He doesn't want us to be in a chemical overload. If you have chemicals in your system, you will get cravings. If you have sugar in your system, you will get cravings. So you
mm,
need to look. We've made a game out of it. And my husband is brilliant now because he lives by himself every second week down in Melbourne. And he will zap me a label and go, look, it's got sugar in it. I went, told you. And he's like, I'm not going to have that one. I'm going to have this one. I went, great. And we make a game out of it.
mm,
When we start to realize that sugar is the poison,
mhm,
start our body. There are 262 different forms of sugar, by the way. So it isn't something you can commit to memory. Oh, I don't have table sugar. I kidded myself. I didn't have table sugar, but I had 261 different forms of sugar in the house. And so I didn't know that I was, don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know that I was feeding my body sugars that was creating the havoc to begin with, the cravings, and then
mm,
compounding that later on. So yeah, that was the biggest thing. And then the second point that I would recommend is making sure that you have, get this, 7 hours between meals. Now,
mhm,
I remember thinking, well, first of all, I don't have to feel guilty because I get really busy and I don't want to think about eating because I'm working on a project. Thank you very much. And then there was that constant push-pull around, I should be eating. I should be making sure that my husband is fed. I should be making sure that we're managing our stress with right foods. This is a lie. This came from marketing back in the 1950s. It actually isn't based on any science whatsoever. And here's the logic, so this should help. All food, even protein, creates a sugar response, which is normal. And if we have 7 hours between meals, our stomachs can empty. Who knew? So that you can put more in.
Yeah.
All right. If you're making sure that the food quality that you have and the protein quality that you have
Mm. Hang on a sec. I think I might have lost you, Pete. Coming back, coming back.
all right, where do we get to?
Yeah, protein, the protein that you're having, that's okay.
All
Yeah.
right, yeah. So high protein. The beautiful thing about protein is you feel full, but
Mm,
more to the point, what it's doing is it's informing your muscles and your tissues. So it's
mm,
sending the signal to your brain that you are amply sufficient. Thank you very much.
mhm.
And you're not eating in a way that is full,
Yeah.
right? If you are um, avoiding carbs, you're not creating this incredible, horrible cycle
Mm,
because sugar creates craving. Always remember this. Sugar creates cravings, not salt.
mm,
If you have a moment where you're thinking, I'm going to eat the Tim Tams, first of all, I recommend not bringing them into the house. But if they're there and I can have 9 packets of Tim Tams. You've lived with me for a week, like it can all be there, but I'm not going to touch it because I know what it does to my body.
mm,
And that's fine. The sugar is the thing that creates the craving to begin with.
mm,
So the other thing I want to talk about is a secondary issue, and that is you shouldn't have more than 7 hours between your meals. Sorry, beg your
mm,
pardon. Let me rephrase that. You need 7 hours between your meals.
mm,
And you'd think, well, and what happens is your body actually, we're not in a third world situation, we're not in war. Okay, we're not in survival, and we know that that food is in the fridge.
mm,
7 hours for your stomach to completely empty all the food, including the sugar, the carbs, all of the things, the fats, for it to then need sustenance. So you can
mm.
comfortably go every 6 hours and eat. Now, some of you will go, oh God, well, that's good because I find it so distracting because every 5 minutes I've got to turn around and make sure that everyone's eaten and
Mm.
make sure I'm boosting my blood sugar. All science. Okay. That actually is a lie. It's a marketing lie. They
Yeah.
shelved the real studies, and the real studies were that too much sugar will create havoc for your pancreas and your
Mm,
liver. It's called a Randall cycle. What we want to do is we want to normalize um, feeling comfortable. And the way that we do that is 7 hours between meals. So I learned that from Dr. Jason Fung. He is amazing on all different times of fasting. He's from Canada, just a really cool dude. Um, and once I understood the science behind that, I was like, wow, okay, so wait, I'm sleeping for 8. So what do I get up? Do I not have breakfast? And then this is where intermittent fasting came into
mm.
being.
Yeah, well, I
So
actually love
first,
intermittent fasting. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I've just it just makes me feel better in the morning to not wake up. And the old cereal ads come to mind, like if you haven't had breakfast, like it's wrong, that old marketing. Yeah, yeah. I
so
don't care.
some of your audience are going to be really confronted by what we're saying. Breakfast is the most important part of the meal of
Yeah.
the day. And it's like, breaking your fast,
Yeah.
breaking your fast, and what you break your fast with is
Mm,
extremely important, correct? Right?
mm,
So, uh, intermittent fasting is another thing to this because it goes a little bit deeper again. But
mm,
effectively, if you are waiting for your stomach to empty and you're
mm,
not bringing in more food, you're not burdening. How many people do you meet with digestive tract issues in
mm.
what we do?
Yeah.
Every second person. Why?
Every.
It's sugar that does it. And they're eating too often and they're eating the wrong thing when they eat. But it took me
Yeah.
till I was 57 to figure this out. So, which is really sad. But, and then I think about, gosh, what are we doing with the kids and the
Mm.
kind of foods that we're exposing our children to? They have the right to fairy bread, don't they? If you knew what it did to child's metabolism, you wouldn't even ask me that question. So this
Yeah.
book is amazing. It's Dr. Robert Lustig. He's actually retired and he calls him, he's an a pediatric endocrinologist.
Mm-hmm.
It upsets me that there is a need for a specialization like that. He said
Mm,
that there is a pandemic of childhood obesity to levels that they have never seen before. And with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of application, we can help reverse that cycle by knowing what to do with our nutrition and then supporting that with good supplementation.
yeah.
Because now you need to know there's a whole movement out there that says there's no such thing as that supplementation. It's all crap. It's full of sawdust.
Mm,
Yes, that's right. That's what we're with doTERRA because we know that doTERRA would never do that.
yeah.
All right. So supplementation needed. It absolutely is. We know the soils have been destroyed. We know the climate is different. We know that Nana's orange looks very different to the Woolies orange down the road. This is the man that's all over it, Dr. Robert Lustig. This is not an easy read. In fact, I wept through it. He
Mm,
described a condition that I had with my daughter. She was born 12 pound two, and that is infant obesity. My
mm.
pediatrician didn't know anything about that, just that she was a 3 month old baby when she was born.
Yeah.
And it was all to do with the food choices. I was
Yeah.
just luck of the draw for me.
Yeah. And
So
that's a
he
really good
is an
point.
amazing.
Like the journey that you just pointed out, like what you're going through and what you've been through, but then you look back and reflect and you can see its relevance, and it's overwhelming to think, wow, even, in utero, our children are suffering by our own choices. And yeah, this is creating generational changes. That's the work you're doing, and that's the example you're setting. And I feel like with these simple examples, like you said, most supplements being sawdust and insignificant, and that's exactly right. But that's why doTERRA is different, and that's why you're living proof of not only just taking them, but like you said at the very beginning, why am I taking these and what's the significance? And I think that's also the same when it comes to eating. Like, why am I eating this? How is it significant? And then why am I needing to eat so
Yeah.
regularly? So I can see the same concept applied to what you've eaten and to the food you've taken and to the time and effort you've put into learning. And I know
Yes.
that people watching back might go, well, hey, I don't have all that time, but aren't you lucky you have PJ who's like, just take the good parts, do as I did, and it's a beautiful thing. And for people that are sort of listening and looking back, going, okay, I think I'm ready to start to take accountability. Can you give them just a glimpse of what it felt like that first time that you really saw the scales shift to an
Mm.
epic proportion of your like, this is working, all the things I'm doing? The scales is one reflection, but it is probably something that most people obsess over. And it is a measurable outcome, right? Like the weight's dropping, so
Yes.
things are happening. So what did that look like when that started to happen in your world?
Okay. So my family are obese. Hope lightning doesn't hit me. But if you were to describe my family up into the generations, they were all roughly the same. Um, So there is an epigenetic issue there. Now, here's the good news, guys. Life's epigenetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger. You would have heard some of the doctors at doTERRA say this, but doesn't originate there. It's actually the entire study of epigenetics. They all know this, and this information is coming out. So to now, on a commercial level, we've been force-fed marketing hype. The great news is doTERRA has us at the pointy edge of what we're calling medicine 3.0. And that is people who are no longer willing to sit in the passenger seat and offer their body to the altar of doctor. Because that's really the way that these poor people have been trained. Some of them care, some of them have a lot of pride, spend a lot of money on their education, and aren't really willing to tell you that they don't know what they don't know. And they'll tell you, keep doing what you're doing, working. In other words, I have no idea how you got to where you are. I don't have time to look. Congratulations, you're doing it. And it's their outcomes. So ultimately, we're all on this trajectory of learning. And remember how I said in the beginning, it's one foot in front of the other. So how did I feel? I realized focusing on weight is dumb. That is mass weight loss industry programming your brain actually into you have to have a tape measure and you have to step on the scales at a public meeting where you feel like a cow, and then you're at Weight Watchers and it's working and you're all sitting around talking about how to lose weight for an hour, and then you go out and have coffee together. I mean, that is a lot of women's life throughout the 80s, 90s, and so forth. This wasn't a solution. So that marketing of weight loss is diabolical deception. If you understand metabolism, it's where your liver is working to the best of its ability. If you're obese, your body's actually functioning the way that it should. Who knew? It's putting too much sugar into your system, and it's pushing the sugar out of the liver into the bloodstream. And your pancreas is in lockstep trying to keep up. So actually, what I came to logic, and then I read the logic that was the same from the doctors, and it was, so I just need to focus on the insulin levels in my blood, and the weight comes off automatically. Well, that's different. And so for once, I wasn't focusing on my size, my shape, whether I could fit into the airplane seat, how I looked, whether I was being considered for opportunities or overlooked. Most of the time, it's that. If anyone's been obese, you know what that is. Okay. And no one says anything, but you know, what absolutely changes is you're looking after your blood sugar and your liver and your pancreas, or organs that are so important. And if you get them functioning correctly, there won't be this sugar dump into your bloodstream, and you won't have a brain snap, and you will have cognitive functioning, and you will have energy, and your microbiome can manage. Sugar attacks your microbiome. It actually renders your mitochondria functionally useless for a 14-day window for that to grow back.
Crazy.
Don't tell me they didn't. They so knew. They so knew. And when you read all, not saying you will, but when you read all these books and all the research and it's all pointing to the same thing, it's like, man, this is a conspiracy to have the population see that. Now, I haven't even gone over alcohol. Alcohol is fermented sugar. And that's a whole other jam in itself. So we have a pandemic of ignorance. And so it's just that today isn't overwhelming and people aren't shut down, that people can look at that and go, wait, that's me. All you need to do, don't focus on the scales, focus on what you're putting into your mouth, what you have control over. We want to lower the insulin levels in our blood, and the body's already doing that. That's why you're overweight. Okay. So how can I eliminate the sugar so that my body isn't under constant stress?
Mm,
Digestive tract sorts itself out. Cravings sort themselves out. Mitochondria get to stand up straight again. And within 2 weeks, so if you commit to eating like this for just 2 weeks and supplementing to make sure, because what it does is it rights the levels. So
mm,
I have to be very careful when I compare doTERRA supplements to outside. No, we don't have ridiculous additives and sawdust, but most importantly, all of the cofactors and compounds that are found in our supplements are therapeutic doses. So I speak
mm,
to a lot of people about this. What does this mean? It means that doctors go, the scientists and the doctors in doTERRA go to great lengths to make sure that the right amount, not the optimum amount, but the right amount of compounds, cofactors, enzymes, et al., are featuring in this supplement that dovetails with everything else that you take so that you get optimum outcomes and yet you're not macro dosing.
mm,
Greedy firms that are often big pharma, hidden as natural, are in to push product because they know pills sell. And the
mm,
unfortunate thing is there is no integrity. And doTERRA is fixing that part of the industry as well, by the way. And
mhm.
we have products that are therapeutically optimized that are based on a regular, normal diet. But the diet part is your concern.
Yeah,
How's that
that's
sound?
so powerful. And I love that because it's breaking my internet's been a bit unstable, but your audio is spot on. So anyone watching back will be able to feel into that anyway, even if the screen has paused. But what I love that you've been doing this whole time is challenging every stereotype, literally, of people that are in that obese category. The number one fixation is the number on the scale. And then people are like, it's that has been generational as well. And I know a lot of people whose number on the scale is low and their metabolic function is actually seemingly stereotypically perfect because they're tiny and skinny and all of the things that apparently healthy is. So it's such an
Yes,
illusion that we've been fed for so long.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
And
that's
then you
why.
have people that show up in our businesses, as you know, and they come to you after years and years of being plant-based,
Mm,
or they come to you after years of being vegan, uh,
mm,
and they're starving and they're
yeah.
taking medication and their diabetes back to shot.
And that's what I mean. So we've all got this perception of what health should look like, hugely based upon amazing marketing campaigns in different generations. So
Yeah.
you've broken it down to mindset, a huge shift in your own mindset, that surrender. The acknowledgement of, okay, this has gone too far, because really at the end of the day, when you're facing possibly amputation or losing your sight, if that's not enough to change some things, what is? So when you're at that point, it started with putting one foot in front of the other and acknowledging that it was within your power to change things day by day. We went through your diet and you're leaning more towards the keto diet and simplifying the food groups, which is in complete opposition to everything we were brought up with. And it's been such a journey for you to partner with Yura and actually to have these incredible results that you've both experienced. Like you both look like brand new people. Like
And
it's
we do
skin,
brand new.
it's hair, it's like the light in your face, it's the white of your eyes. That's I'm so proud of you both because you've endured. And like you said, there's certain things that when you say the criticisms that you've faced, either unspoken or spoken, you mean that. And it's something that I just have so much respect for everything you've endured, overcome, and the passion and purpose you're now leading with, to help others in your position. It's so powerful. And I know that you mentioned metformin being a huge part of the stereotypical pathway that someone in that position is on, and there's no other choice, right?
Well, there is.
That's it.
There is.
What
All
like
right. So what is interesting, and I think, God has an incredible sense of humor, is the amount of people that have come to me over the years. I've lost count.
that?
I'm on metformin and I want to get off.
Mm,
So ultimately, people get upset about metformin. And I just want to preface here, if you are on metformin and it's working for you, I'm not going to say to you, you have to come off metformin. It is actually a form of berberine. The problem is there
mm,
are synthetics in it. And the whole purpose of metformin, I found out, is to make you feel sick so that you'll stop eating. This is the science behind this product. So you can poke your fingers down your throat actually and have the same effect, and you won't actually have to go and get that subsidized or go to the doctor to get a script. It its whole design is not to do anything but to make you feel nausea. But can you believe that? Like, how cruel is that for a start?
mm,
And secondly, it is going to form, it's going to create a form of a very bad relationship with food.
mm,
So, what if I said to you that if you prioritize fat, can't get fat from fat, you can eat it all day long. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just metabolized and moves out of your system a little bit like an essential oil.
mm,
And prioritize protein so that you're never hungry again.
mm.
You cannot overeat steak. You can have two, maybe three steaks if you're really hungry. You
Quinn
probably
would love
wouldn't.
that statement.
But even
Yeah,
if he did, he's not going to turn around and have that at the next meal, is he? He's
yeah.
going to be like, you know what, man, I'm still eating lunch. I think I'm not going to have anything for dinner. And that is a normal response. And yet we're made to feel guilty for opting out of these eating timeframes. What we should
Mm,
be looking at is eating windows, the
mm,
window of when I'm eating and the window of when it's closed. That's it.
mm,
Simple. It's healthy and it's mature. It's a much more positive response, and your body will respond to it. So
mm,
all that to say, you feel amazing. You start to look amazing. Like, I look at old photos of myself, just even like 2 years ago, and I'm like, I am a walking dead.
mm,
And yes, I'm blonder now. I used to be dark and all. I look dead. We look dead. We look puffed up. So there's a thing called, guys, you need to know there's a thing called cortisol face. So you
mm,
can't hide your suffering. That cortisol face is puffiness. I still get it from time to time. And just full disclosure, I'm not out of the woods with my weight, but I am under control. There's a
mm,
very big difference. If we
yeah.
focus on the A1C, the resting blood sugar, then the weight just comes away naturally. And that's exactly what happened. And this is a lifelong thing, by the way. I'm not
Mm,
losing weight to get into a wedding dress. Been married 3 times, not going to do that again. um, but it's not a vain strike at a goal that never eventuates. And if you're not eating correctly, what happens? Yes, you lose the weight and then it all comes back again.
mm,
Why? Because your body is starving and it will push you towards food. And if you can just understand a craving, why it's there. I've had afternoons and I've gone, okay, I feel like a packet of chips, because
mm,
once upon a time that's what I would have ate and permitted myself to have because I work so hard. And
mm,
then it was like, wow, okay, so how many times can you do that? How many chemicals are in that? How much sugar, maltodextrin, which is a form of sugar, is in that? And
mm,
all you're doing is you're compounding the wounding that your food choices are creating when you eat
mm.
starchy carbs. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. And when you
Yeah.
change that, just do it for 2 weeks initially, and you
Mm,
change that, you feel remarkably better. no cravings, you're sleeping well, and things are under control again. The other night, I realized I'm in a cycle, and so I'm at the end of that cycle of eating, and it's like, no, I'm not getting enough protein. I think I need to eat protein a little bit more. So it's very intuitive, and I started eating more protein. Well, what do you know? I slept through the night, which I haven't done for a very long time because
Yeah.
uh, I'm still healing,
Yeah.
really. I'm still healing.
And you've come like, and recognizing, I think in the past, it's about becoming, like you said, you were aware of how you felt. I think when
Mm.
people are in that position of just eating because that's what you're supposed to do every couple of hours. You're having breakfast, the most important meal of the day, and you're doing all the things, you're not actually aware unless your body sends, a gallbladder attack or something to make you go, oh, hang on, there's something wrong here, or your body's in distress. The
Yep.
gradualness of some people's obesity journey, I think, that turns into their glucose like it's a silent killer. Like it's just all of a sudden you can look back and go, whoa, how did I get here? Now you're looking back, 18 months into this incredible health transformation, still very much, as you say, on the journey, but in control of your journey. But you're
Yeah.
looking back from potentially like death. You're looking back because if back then you decided it's just too hard, and
Mm.
18 months on the wrong path is life or death at that point.
I actually, I actually shudder to think, going by what I was hiding and what I was pushing down as I'm not gonna, I'll manage. Whatever that was, I
Mm,
can't even imagine where I would be now. I really don't know. It, yeah, it started to compound as I got older. And of course,
mm,
now I'm sort of heading into 60,
mm,
57, and yeah, like we have
mm,
things to do. There are things that we want to do with our life. We don't want to be, and this, I just want to highlight this pandemic of ignorance that we have
mm,
around sugar, around metabolism. It's really, it's it's nefarious.
mm,
It is such an issue with people. Doctors are saying that Gen X, so that's anyone born, say, around 75 through 63-ish, around there. Generation X is the sickest generation that they have ever seen,
mm,
highly medicated for deep um, uh, dysfunctional issues that
mm,
have been created by lifestyle. Now,
right.
all of those, Dr. Peter Attia calls it the four horsemen. I love it. And
Mm-hmm,
that's heart, um, Alzheimer's, cancer, and diabetes. They're the four killers. They are the non-communicable diseases. I.e., if you got diabetes, I can't pick it up from you. They
mm,
are all reversible through lifestyle, every single one of them. But
amazing.
you don't hear that.
No. Well, you're living proof of the fact that like you said, that trajectory you were on, it was only a matter of time before one of those big ones was the next diagnosis, and
Yes.
I love that you pointed out the metformin, that if everyone has, some people say it's working for me and that's great, but a vast majority of people that mention that when they say, does doTERRA have anything? Um, there's a sadness because they know that it's not working. They hope that that was the magic pill or the thing that would change everything. And that's the part that um, everyone has a choice to change from that point. And when you're not putting all your power in something that's given to you that's designed to literally make you feel nauseous and not want to eat, like big farmers, amazing at it's just mind blowing some of the things that they've put forward as quote unquote a cure for or this will help with. And it's cruelty, really, because as you said, it's debilitating and cracking in their relationship with food. So what happens for the rest of their lives when they're, like you said, now they've got a dysfunction around food? They're going to start snacking and probably get obsessed with salt and things like that. It's literally endless. So I feel like the transformation, that 2 week window, I feel like that's a really something people can grasp onto. And the people I know that have been asking us, that 2 week window is a potential to prove to yourself that you have the power to make an impact on how you feel. And doTERRA taught me that way back when in a different part of our world and a different part of health. But it gave me that fire to go, well, hang on a minute, maybe I've been deceived for so long to think that health exists outside of me. And that 2 week window, I feel like, is an amazing opportunity and we're an invitation really to say, well, the lifelong vitality subs have a money back guarantee. They're TJ approved. The collagen, the MetaPower Advantage, also TGA approved. Um, and you're giving yourself a good couple of weeks of making better food choices, have a food diary, focus on those three core areas of nutrition, and then checking back in with yourself and giving yourself that grace. So I know you've set up some really incredible support for people on the journey that you've inspired, and that includes a group that is called the
Yes.
Ultimate Blood Sugar Fix. So, did you want to tell everyone about that and how they can get involved in that?
Yeah. So search that on Facebook and the Ultimate Blood Sugar Fix. You'll be able to come in, share, ask questions. We for a couple of times during the year, I've run a little program called the Boost program. The last time I ran that was just before Christmas, and that was really about boosting your metabolism in the way that you should before Christmas. So we find a lot of people start out, think back, we're only in April now, and I'm sure you all set good intentions that fell off the bandwagon in February and March. Let me just say to you, it's because of ignorance that keeps you there. Once you understand that you don't have to remain ignorant in the age of information, let's face it,
Mm,
that ignorance is a choice. And while, yes, it's overwhelming. Now, a lot of people say to me, so how did you know where to start? I actually prayed. I
mm,
had no idea. And I said to God, I don't know. How do you know what you don't know?
mm,
And I was very lucky, thanks to algorithms and all the incredible ways that technology works. One of the very first people that was put into my lap was Dr. James Antonio. He is amazing with his knowledge about salt and how salt offsets craving. So you have a craving, put a couple of salt crystals of salt on your tongue or in the water and drink it.
mm.
Recharge is better because it has
Yes.
therapeutically added to it. Recharge is the optimal one. You can drink some pickle juice from the pickle jar or maybe politely decant, whatever works. Can also come from ginger, but pickle juice will immediately take away any craving. So all we want to do is we want to get to the end of the afternoon without
Mhm.
having sitting down. I mean, I did it in my corporate job. It was just a normal thing. Half the mob went outside for a smoke, and the other half was the Coke and the Snickers bar. It's just what we did. We had chocolate in at work. I see it even now. Fruit and chocolate. Guys, it's fructose. If you knew what fructose does to your body, fruit is not what we think. It's not healthy.
Mm,
Okay. And if you're obese, it is the absolute worst thing you can possibly do to your system because it
mm,
confuses your system. So yeah, it's very interesting what we do for energy hits. And you know what? The very best energy hit you can have is chomping on some beetlets. I like to pop them in my mouth.
mm,
Now, what those beetlets do, the MetaPower beetlets, this is the most underrated product we have.
mm,
Metapower Assist is our answer to metformin, but guess what? It actually works on undoing the damage that carbs do. And this is not permission to go and get a puff pizza. I'm just saying that if you know that you're going to accidentally indulge or that your digestive tract is going to give you hell to pay because you ingest something that has flour in it or whatnot, you can have your Metapower Assist 20 to
mhm,
30 meal, 20, 30 minutes before your big meal. And what it does is it berberine and mold relief, the study and the science behind this is unbelievable, and it protects your liver from the damage that comes from the sugar dump. It actually lowers the cortisol. Amazing. So it's doing what it's meant to do. So it's our answer to that, and it won't make you feel nauseous. Then the other thing is you want to make sure that you have the MetaPower blend with you often. Now, there were two essential oils that are amazing for homeostasis or bringing the body back to balance, and that's peppermint and wild orange, and that's independently studied. It also happens that they assist your mitochondria to function again. So if there is damage from sugar, you can just take the MetaPower beadlets. What it does is it actually creates the ATP in the body. It's very scientific. So let's just say all your little wheelhouses come alive again with the MetaPower blend. You want that ATP to turn on, pop it in your mouth, and walk away. Hello, doTERRA.
Yeah, it's so good. And that's a great little hint
And
as
it
well.
dials.
That habit of it can you'll be aromatically anchoring to your new habit as well. I know when I pop any beadlet, you get that smell as you're and swallowing, and it's the old cigarette days where you're trying to quit smoking and you soak some, what are they called, toothpicks in black pepper oil, and you sit the toothpick here, and eventually the aromatic and the way that it works, you can break addiction that way too. But the same thing, I think, when you've got something as beautiful and powerful and meaningful as the beadlets that aren't by accident, they're very intentional in the way that they've been reformulated, that MetaPower blend. I think that that's a really good addition to have in their pocket as a comfort throughout the day when snacking is, like you said, habitual. It's at work, it's at morning tea, it's at afternoon tea. I feel like that's a really good hint. So in your LRP cart, in your loyalty rewards cart for anyone watching back, what is a non-negotiable product they should add into that? Or what is that? What does that cart look like each month for them?
For somebody who is looking after their blood sugar and their
Hmm.
cortisol response, you absolutely need to have Advantage without hesitation. You need Assist. You need the supplements, so that will be LLV. So this is our MetaPower bundle, if
Yeah.
you like, every month without fail. And then people are saying to me, but my husband wants to do it with me, so that's only half a month, right? And I'm like, yep. So you'll be ordering two. Well, that's
Exactly.
expensive. And Dr. Hill's answer is, what do you want, pills or bills? Now, the
Oh.
beautiful thing is, as we know, it's a challenge, but he means it. He's like, I didn't
Mm,
design this for fun.
mm,
Okay. And his research takes us deep into the potential of what this can do. So often I'll get people coming to me saying, oh, but I have this and this is very unique. And, I'm not like everyone. No, you're not. And your uh, um, your protocol, if you like, comes
mhm,
from good food. And so your
mm,
body will adapt to that. And then once you've got the good food and your cells are functioning the way that they should, you
mm.
will suddenly feel like lifelong vitality has an impact because you
Yeah.
will feel amazing. One of the
Mm,
things the Advantage did for us, I heard you mention the other day that, or just earlier, you were talking about how MetaPower Advantage changed your desire to snack. What we
mm,
noticed is it actually changed our relationship with sugar. We actually didn't want that anymore.
mm,
And I realized coffee was tasting blah. And I said to
mm.
my husband, you can have coffee, by the way. Most people can manage it as long as you don't too late in the afternoon.
Overdose. Yeah.
It shouldn't affect most people, just depends on, everyone's different, but coffee's okay. Very good for your metabolism in actual fact. But what I realized, I couldn't have coffee anymore. And I said,
Mm,
this just tastes disgusting. And then I realized it wasn't the coffee, it was the
mm,
sugar I was having in the coffee.
yeah.
And it was changing my taste buds. Another
Yeah.
time and we go on and off coffee. So I remember I'm like, we are not fighting anymore. we were bickering a lot, having
Mm.
differences of opinion, just gnarly with each other a lot, and that's stress. And I realized we don't argue anymore. And
Mm.
advantage has been assisting the hormonal response. That
Wow.
is the one that drives the cortisol. So
Mm.
yeah, I was like, this is amazing because this is the way it's designed to work, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the beauty of it all as a bundle. Like that's intentional. They haven't just randomly selected products that don't complement one another. But I think you've hit the nail on the head there with I love that you have done this together. It really, really does amplify the level of success and enjoyment you feel as you're changing, but also the outcome emotionally and mentally of enduring, going through, learning, and achieving just such a significant health improvement. Um, that has to be
Mm.
life altering in itself and allowing for so much more joy, and now you can
Yes,
plan, like you said, you can plan your holidays without this thought in the back of your mind. You can plan long term because you know your health isn't going to stop you. How powerful is that?
yes, yes. And how concerning is it when you know that that health is to do with incorrect lifestyle choices? And this isn't to put anyone in the bin and say, well, you're doing all this and therefore I'm greater. It's not that. It's looking at what I'm doing. How does this serve me? Is this
Mm,
what I want for myself? Am I going to be able to get to an age where I can? I mean, Moses was 80 when he led the Israelites out of
mm,
Egypt. So why do we write ourselves off at 65? Because society says that we're no longer able. Nah, that we have big plans. There are things that we want to do and achieve, and we don't want to be limited by our health. And so, getting our health right and doing as much as we can ourselves and then supporting that with the
mm.
right choices, with what we have in our cart, it just makes good sense.
Yeah, and that is amazing. And it's such a testament to you both. And we're so lucky, the luckiest people on earth to have doTERRA, our wholesale accounts, our community, and this opportunity to collaborate in in gathering and learning from your experience and the opportunity you've created at the outset through your experience with the ultimate blood sugar fix. The experiences in there, I'm guessing, are varying, but also they're all predominantly not focused on what, like, how much weight have you lost. You're focusing on the one indicator of actual health. That alone
Yep.
sets that apart, that program apart, because, like you said in the past, it's just this other figure that everyone obsesses over, and it's just the wrong indicator. It's the wrong thing that we've been
If your
looking at for
weight is
generations.
fluctuating,
Mm,
did you know that packing a suitcase creates anxiety, which loads cortisol, which makes you put on
mm,
weight?
yeah,
Just packing a suitcase or not
yeah,
being able to sleep at night,
yeah.
and these are the things that are very dislocated. They're out of our realm. And so we
Mm,
kind of think we have no choice over them.
mm,
But if we start with nutrition, where
mm,
have I heard that before?
yeah,
Start with nutrition and then you layer those products in step by
yeah,
step, day by
yeah.
day, habit by habit.
I love it. And look at the results. So we've got, if you're looking at where to begin, please go into your wholesale accounts, jump on and grab yourself the MetaPower bundle. Get yourself a little piece of paper in your kitchen and write a couple of meal plans and snack plans for the next 2 weeks. um, you know, partner up with your significant other, your husband or your wife, and challenge yourself to see how different you can feel in the next fortnight. And join, the Ultimate Blood Sugar Fix group on Facebook to be surrounded by other people that are actually in the same arena as you right now. Because I feel like there's nothing more powerful than learning and growing with each other. It amplifies everything. So yeah, thank you so much, PJ, for everything that you have done. over the last 18 months to prove that it is possible to transform your health in front of our very eyes. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. And it's never too late to start.
Yeah. Thank you.